Hey students, welcome to my class again. And today I am going to take a class on a poem again, and it is the poem of William Blake, one in the schoolboy. In my previous class, I took a class on the Lake Isle of Innisfree, written by W.B. Yeats. So we'll now discuss about the schoolboy. William Blake was an English poet and painter. His life career extended from 1757 to 1857, and his favorite subjects included children. The Schoolboy is a 1789 poem by William Blake and published as a part of his poetry collection entitled Songs of Experience. These poems were later added with the Blake's Songs of Innocence to create entire collection entitled Songs of Innocence and Experience, showing the two contrary states of the human soul. In this poem, the schoolboy Blake writes about a young boy who is unhappy with his school, where the dwarfish teachers give joyless lesson. He feels that he would better be educated in the by the natural world. He pleads with his parents to rescue him from the drudgery of school or from the monotonous classes of the school. So, and this is the poem. So we should now go through the poem, but before going through the poem, we should learn some word meaning and phrases for our better understanding. Dear students, I will discuss the poem in English and Bangla in both languages. Dear students, we are now discussing the word meaning. At first, one huntsman, shikari, a man who hunts wild animals. Then dismay, হতাশার অনুভূতি বা আতঙ্ক, we can say alarm, worried, sad feeling. Drooping, হাঁপানো ও ঝিমঝিম ভাব. Dreary, নিরানন্দ বা বিষণ্ণ, ডাল. Worn, ক্লান্ত, পরিশ্রান্ত, tired, exhausted. Flushed, জ্বর বা দমকা বাতাস. Annoy, বিরক্ত করা, anxious, উদ্বিগ্ন. Sigh, দীর্ঘশ্বাস ছাড়া বা ফেলা. Case, খাঁচা. Bud, কুড়ি বা মুকুল. Blossom, ফুল. Nipped, বিনষ্ট করা. Striped, ছিঁড়ে নেয়া. Then we have got some phrases in the poem. A cruel eye outworn, a strict and harsh teacher, কড়া ও রূঢ় প্রকৃতির শিক্ষক. Sweet company, a company full of happiness, আনন্দপূর্ণ সঙ্গ. Drooping seat, panting and having drowsiness while sitting, বসে বসে হাঁপানো ও ঝিমঝিম ভাব হওয়া. Learning power, a garden where a child can learn happily. Garden or a place, যে একটি জায়গা বা বাগান যেখানে একটি শিশু আনন্দের সাথে শিখতে পারে. Dreary shower, a compassionate learning environment, সহানুভূতিপূর্ণ শিক্ষার পরিবেশ. Fears annoy, uneasiness and distractedness from fear or anxiety, ভয় ও উদ্বেগ থেকে সৃষ্ট অস্বস্তি ও বিরক্তি. Mellowing year, adolescence, বয়ঃসন্ধিকাল. Now I am discussing the poem. I love to rise in a সামার মর্ন, যে আমি ভালোবাসি জেগে উঠতে গ্রীষ্মের সকালে। ওয়েন দ্য বার্ডস সিং অন এভরি ট্রি, যখন পাখিরা প্রতি গাছে গাছে গায়ে গান। দি ডিস্ট্যান্ট হান্টসম্যান উইন্স হিজ হর্ন, দূরে শিকারী তার সিংহা বাজায়। অ্যান্ড দ্য স্কাইলার্ক সিংস উইথ মি, এবং ভরত পাখি আমার সাথে গায়ে গান। ও হোয়াট এ সুইট কোম্পানি, আহা কি মধুর সঙ্গী। Here, the speaker is a schoolboy. He loves to get up in a summer morning because in this time the birds sing on every tree. He hears the sound of winding horn of huntsmen from far away. He listens to the song of skylark, and both of them sing together and enjoys the summer morning. In second stanza we get that, but to go to school in a summer morn, কিন্তু গ্রীষ্মের সকালে স্কুলে যাওয়া, ও ইট ড্রাইভস অল জয় অ্যাওয়ে, ও তা করে দেয় সমস্ত আনন্দ ম্লান। আন্ডার এ ক্রুয়েল আই আউটওয়ার্ন, যে একটি নিষ্ঠুর দৃষ্টির অধীনে। The little ones spend the day in sighing and dismay, যে ক্ষুদে শিশুরা দিন কাটায় আতঙ্ক ও দীর্ঘশ্বাসে। The boy feels uneasy when he thinks of going to school. He removes all his joys and pleasure in the morning because he becomes tired enduring the joyless lesson of the strict and harsh teacher. He says that the children spend the day in school through sigh and sad feeling. Then at times I drop in seat. মাঝে মাঝে আমি বিষণ্ণ হয়ে বসে থাকি। and spend many an anxious hour, ও কাটাই বহু অস্থির মুহূর্ত। nor in my book can I take delight, যে আমি বইয়ের পাতায় কোনো আনন্দ পাই না। nor sit in learning's bower, অথবা পাই না শান্তি শিক্ষার আবাসে বসে। worn through with the dreary shower, নিরানন্দ কথার দ্বারা আমি সম্পূর্ণ ক্লান্ত। The boy says that he spends many an anxious hours panting and having drowsiness while sitting. He neither gets pleasure in book nor at the reading table. He becomes exhausted listening to the teachers' boring and joyless lectures. How can the bird that is born for joy sit in a cage and sing? কিভাবে একটি পাখি যেটি জন্মেছে আনন্দের জন্য সেটি খাঁচার মধ্যে গান গেতে পারে? How can a child, when fears annoy, but drop his tender wing and forget his youthful spring? যে শিশু ভয়ে আতঙ্কিত, সে তার কচি ডানা ক্লান্তিতে নুইয়ে ভুলে যায় তারুণ্য ভরা বসন্তকে। Here the boy compares himself to a bird. The boy The bird which is born to have pleasant and enjoyable time, flying freely, cannot sing being confined in a cage. Similarly, when a child suffers from uneasiness and distortedness from fear and anxiety and he becomes gloomy and droopy. He forgets the joys and happiness of his young age. O father and mother, if birds are nipped and blossoms blown away, and if the tender plants are stripped of their joy in the springing day by sorrow and care's dismay, হে বাবা এবং মা, যদি মুকুলগুলো করা হয় বিনষ্ট, and blossoms blown away, এবং ফুলগুলো যায় ঝরে, if the tender plants are stripped, যদি কচি উদ্ভিদ আর stripped of their joy in the springing day, তাদের যৌবনের দিনগুলিতে আনন্দ থেকে হয় বঞ্চিত, by sorrow and care's dismay, বিষাদ ও উদ্বেগের আতঙ্কে, how shall the summer arise in joy, or the summer fruits appear, কিভাবে গ্রীষ্মকাল হবে মধুময় অথবা গ্রীষ্মের ফলের ঘটবে আগমন। or how shall we gather what griefs destroy, অথবা কিভাবে আমরা ফিরে পাবো সেই দিনগুলো যা দুঃখ করেছে ধ্বংস বিনষ্ট, or bless the mellowing year, অথবা কিংবা পরিপক্ক বছরকে করব আশীর্বাদ, when the blast of winter appear, যখন শীতের দমকা হাওয়া হবে আবির্ভাব। In this line, the boy argues that if birds are destroyed, flowers fall off the trees owing to storm or rough weather, and if the young plants are deprived of the joy of spring because of sadness and care's fear, the summer cannot expose with joy, cannot reveal itself, and the summer fruits cannot be seen or found. In the same way, the ripening year cannot give us anything if the strong wind of winter blows and destroys everything. The poet wants to mean that if a child is repressed at tender age, it cannot grow up with a sound body and sound mind, and nothing fruitful can be expected from him. Dear students, in this poem we have got uses of some literary devices, and Blake makes use of several literary devices in the schoolboy. This includes alliteration, anaphora, and metaphor. Alliteration is a technique that makes use of repeated sound at the beginning of multitude words grouped together. It is used in poetry and prose. It helps to increase the rhyme and rhythm of the verses. For example, Skylark sings in stanza 1. In stanza 1 we get here Skylark sings, and then day and dismay, day and dismay in stanza 2. These are the examples of alliteration used in this poem. Then We have got here the use of anaphora. Anaphora is the repetition of a word. Anaphora is the repetition of a word or phrase at the beginning of multiple lines, usually in succession. This technique is implemented intentionally and done so to create emphasis. Anaphora works in a similar way to alliteration. It can be seen in the third stanza. In the third stanza, with the repetition of nor, with the repetition of nor, here we have got nor, and then in fifth stanza with the repetition of and in the sixth stanza with the use of or at the beginning of two lines. Learning Bawar or dreary shower and used and cares dismay, example or use of metaphor in this poem. Metaphor is a comparison of one thing to another without the use of like or as to provide a clear description. So we have discussed the literary items or the literary devices used in this poem. Now we'll describe the summary or theme writing, because our main target is to write down the summary or theme from the poem. And summary, and before going to write down the summary, we have to know the difference between theme and summary. Summary is a short statement that gives only the main points of something, not the details. When we will write down the summary, we'll keep in mind that we have to take a good look at this, that necessary, unnecessary and irrelevant words should be avoided while writing summary. It should be written in indirect speech. Any reference or examples should be omitted while writing a summary. It should be written in 1/3 of the main text or in 4 or 5 sentences. Now theme. If we discuss the theme is the subject or main idea in a talk or piece of writing. In other words, it is the message of a talk or piece of writing. And while writing the theme, we should keep in mind that no word or words should be taken from any speech or piece of writing. The underlying message of the speech should be written in short in own language. The learner should try to understand the inner meaning of the speech or writing, and for this he or she has to go through the text again and again. Writing summary for the first 15 lines, we can say, or we can write that the poet tells about the innocence and tenderness of childhood. A child naturally loves summer morning, hearing bird song, huntsman's horn. He dislikes to go to school, where the cruel teachers give joyless lesson, and he endures it in sighing and sadness. The poet gives importance to joyous learning environment. And for writing summary for the last 10 lines or sentences from line 21 to 30, we can write down, or we can say, the boy addresses his parents or the parents to think about their tender age. He compares childhood uh, to a tender plant, a blossom or bud that are very delicate and need a healthy environment to grow up. If they are undressed at tender age, they cannot mature and give fruits. Similarly, if a child is sent to a school of cruel environment, he will lose his mental and intellectual development. Dear students, I have divided the poem in two parts, in two sections, because if you get the poem for theme writing, you will get either first 15 lines or last 15 or 10 lines. You will not get the whole poem to write down theme or summary. So, yes, students, we are now at the end of our class, and hope that you are going on well with your studies and with your sound body and sound mind. And we should pray for one another for our well-being, as we have been passing through a very critical time. And so we should not sit idle at home, because our exam is very near, or when our school or colleges will open, uh, our exam will also begin. So we should take a good preparation for our exams, and we should continue our studies at home. And uh, dear students, one thing I again want to remind you, that you should always try to stay at home and never go out of home without any urgent piece of business, and try to follow all the health rules that is dictated by government and also by the authority. And you are asked to wash your hands, and always whenever you go out or come to your home, and you should always wear mask whenever you go outside. So these rules are very necessary for our safety. It is not only an advice, it is also a guideline for our maintaining good health and sound life and sound health. So I will not longer my class today. I am now saying you goodbye. Thank you all listening to my lecture. Thank you all very much.